This
Uh,
conference will now be recorded.
Started explaining about string data type, right? Hmm?
Yes, and the
Yes.
syntax.
Am I completed that one?
Mostly, I think.
Mostly, yeah, towards the end.
Like, so there are some kind of manipulation methods like strip, jet fill. Am I completed those things?
Zfill, I'm not sure.
Okay, let me check once. Have you practiced at least?
I looked into until the ANSI code part or ASCII.
Okay. Basic syntax. This one we haven't. Mm, okay. So I think use space. So when the string is just having only spaces, then it can be returns the true. I think this is I explained in yesterday class.
Yeah,
Okay.
explain this one.
Yeah. So strip will help you to remove the some characters from left and the right. That's the use of the strip. So is all num, it can returns the true if and only if doesn't have any kind of special characters. And is alpha can be returns the true if and only if which contains either uppercase or lowercase characters. Okay, so is upper can be returns the true if just if doesn't have any single character as the lowercase letter. Okay, I think that particular part I explained in yesterday class. Join and split, right?
Yeah, splits and join are done. Capitalize, that thing is done as well.
Yeah. So split, join, find, index, and count, center, jet fill, title, swap keys, upper, lower, capitalize, and we can performing some kind of operations on the string. So if you want to remember these things, make sure that you should execute some statements, whatever I share within the, I think I shared in the canvas. This file, you can get it from the canvas. You can download that particular file and we can look some examples on it. Okay, clear?
Okay, yeah, clear.
So now let's talk about the tuple data type. So tuple means you already know that, right? So something we are holding in a parenthesis. So some multiple elements, somewhat multiple elements we are holding in a parenthesis, then it's a part of a tuple data type, right? So in this particular tuple, we can try to hold the either same type of data or dissimilar type of data. Okay, we can hold the integers, we can hold the float, we can hold the complex, we can hold no boolean, none, string, and within the tuple we can try to hold the tuple, or we can hold the list, we can hold the set, we can hold the dictionary. So any kind of data we can hold inside of the parenthesis, then it will be a tuple data type. Clear? Clear or not?
Yep, it's clear.
Okay, so now we can do some kind of built-in functions we can apply in the string, tuple. So len is the function. It will return the number of elements in this particular tuple. Here I have the 4 elements are there, so that length function will be returns the 4. So with help of the max function, we can find the biggest element from the tuple. So min will help you to find the smallest element from the tuple. Okay. Sum is the function which can help you to sum of all elements in a tuple. Okay. So this kind of operations or methods we can or functions we can apply on the list. Okay. So for example, same how the string indexing is working, in the same way tuple indexing also can work. So for example, here 34, 90, and 12 and 78. There is a 4 elements are there. Okay. So the index position of 0 is 34, index position of 90, which is 1, index position of 12, which is no 2, and index position of 78, which is 3. So it is following the positive. In the meanwhile, every positional element in the tuple, it might have the negative element as well. So negative elements, which is starting with -1, -2, this is -2, okay, -3, -4. The last element is a of -1, and a of -1 means in a tuple the last element is 78. For accessing the last element, we can use the number of elements -1. So that is also a positive element. With help of the positive number, with help of the negative number, we can access the elements from the tuple. Clear?
Here.
Yep.
Okay. So I think you're already aware of the slicing in a string, right? How the string slicing is working. In the same way, tuple slicing also can work. See, I just want to access some elements continuously from the tuple. So you'll be getting the result will be tuple again. Okay. The resultant data type is also tuple. So the resultant tuple, which might be contains the continuous elements from the tuple elements. So if I'm giving the 1:7, which means from 1 to 6, what are the elements we have it, that all elements we can access. So if I'm not giving anything as a start index, then it can be treating as the 0. If I'm not giving the if I'm not giving the stop, then it will access till end of the tuple. That is the use of the tuple slicing. Clear my point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So meanwhile, how the string dicing is working in the same way, tuple dicing also can work. Like, so stepwise elements we can access. If I'm giving the 1, 8, and 3, your 1 is your starting element, 8 will be 8 minus 1, 7 will be your stop element, and so here 3 will be your step element. So 1 and 1 plus 3, it's a 4, and 4 plus 3, 7. So 1, 4, 3, the positional elements what we have it can be considering as the subtuple. Okay, so 3, 23 and 20 are the positions of 147. Meanwhile, if you are not giving the start index, then it can be treating like 0, so which is starts with 0 and it could be ends whatever the element you mention here. See here, I mention here as a 7. 7 means it's your stop element. Okay. So 0 and the step will be here 3, 0 plus 3, 3, 3 plus 3, 6. 6 will be less than the 7, so that only 0, 3, 6 elements we can access. For example, you mention the start and the step, but you're not mention the stop. By this time, which is accessing, so from starter to stop, I mean to end of our tuple, so with index of whatever you mention. Okay. So for example, if you're not mention the step, it will be considering the 1. So 2 to 5, what are the elements we have it that it can be accessing from the tuple. This kind of string dicing can have how the string dicing is working in the same way tuple dicing also can work. That's a small example for that. Would you like to be execute these statements or can I proceed it?
You can proceed.
Yep. You can
Okay.
proceed.
Yeah, thank you. So here we are holding the tuple inside of the tuple. For example, this is one subtuple and this is one tuple. Okay, there is a two tuples are there. These two tuples we are holding in the tuple itself. So this situation, okay, this situation, what happened. So length of a, here we have only two elements. For seeing there are 7 elements are there, but you know what, here what happened. So it's just two elements because of this is the sub tuple and this is also tuple. So we have only two tuples are there. So this is the two tuples are the elements of the main tuple, so that here the length which is 2. So if I'm giving the a of 0, which is accessing the subtuple 1, if I'm giving the a of 1, which is accessing the subtuple 2, this is my subtuple 2. Okay, but my intention is I want to access the subtuple element. I'm not accessing the entire subtuple. I want to access the subtuple elements. That also we can do with help of the nested indexing. So a of 0 means it's a first tuple. From that first tuple, so again we are mentioning the one, right? That means this is a 0 position again. This is 1 position. So a of 0 of 1, if I'm mentioning, then which is accessing the 4. Okay, a of 1, which means second tuple. From the second tuple, you mention like 2. 2 means what? It's a 0. This is 1 and this is 2. From the a of 1, so the second element is it's a 19. So that we are getting the 4 comma 19. Clear? So this kind of nested indexing also can be supported in a tuple data type.
How can I get length of the first tuple within the tuple?
So simple, we can do length of so we just directly apply the length function again. Instead of giving the age, you can just mention the a of 0, then which is returning the number of elements. For example, if you mention like so 90, there is a 5 elements are there. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
So here 4. So a of 0 of 1 in the sense it's a 4, and the length of a of 0 in the sense the subtuple which is having the 5 elements, so that we got a result is 5. So when I'm mentioning a of 1, which means the entire subtuple, 2, from the subtuple 2, we're accessing the second element, which is 19. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, in the previous class, we understood the string data type. So in the string data type, you are trying to be modifying some existing character, right? By the time we are getting the error because of its immutable data type. Same thing will happening in a tuple as well. Okay, so tuple also it's a immutable data type. So tuple also it's a immutable data type, which means so once if you fix the elements, if I try to modify, for example, it's a 0 position is 12 and 1 position is 3 and 2 position is 4. So I want to be modify the position of 1 instead of the 3. I want to make it as the 130, which is not possible. So you will be getting the type error. Clear?
Yep, it's clear.
Okay. So how we executed some manipulation methods on the string in the same way we are trying to doing on the tuple. So when I'm using the count, so it can be just counting the how many times one particular element is available or repeated in my existing tuple. So here my tuple having the 4, out of the 4, 9 is repeated 2 times, so that it was returns the 2. Okay. So index is nothing but it will find you the position of the positional number of the each and every element. So this is the 0 position, this is 1 position, this is 2 position. So here I'm mentioning the index of 4 so that it was returns the 2. So other than these two, if I try to do any other operations for that one, it's not supported actually. Okay, so which is just having only count and index. We don't have any methods. We have only two methods, count and index. These methods are not manipulation methods. These are special methods. It can be executed automatically when we are working on it. For example, when we are using the star, when we are using the multiplication of the tuple, this time automatically we have a method is there, a dot underscore underscore mul underscore underscore of 4, right? This is the method it can be invoke. So this is the method is the special method. This method can be executed automatically when we are using the star operator. Okay, so this method which is there here. So meanwhile, if I try to do it in a plus operator, so I just want to be concatenating of the two tuples. So you will be getting the resultant will be the tuple, but which consisting the A elements and B elements. So that time we have a method is add method will help you. So automatically this is the method only it can invoke so that we are getting the same result. So here we have a contains. When I'm using the operator in, then automatically internally we have a method is there, contains method. So this is the method it can be invoked automatically when I'm using the in operator. Okay. So we can see here those methods are there, so it can be invoked. For example, if we have a two tuples are there, it's 1 comma 2 comma 3, and here also 1 comma 2 comma 3. I want to compare the two tuples a equal to b. So when we are using the equal to b, internally we have a method. What is the method? EQ method can invoke. Okay. So for example, not equal to. So not equal to in the sense when we are using the operator is not equal to operator, then internally we have a method is NQ. This is the method is invoked when I'm using that operator. And when I'm using the greater than, then we have a method is GT indicating that it's a greater than. And when we are using the less than symbol, then we have a method is LT method. This is the method it can invoke. Okay. And when we are using the less than or equal to, then we have a method is sorry, greater than or equal to, then we have a method is GE. Okay. And next one is if we want to be use the less than or equal to, then we can use the function name is LE. So this kind of methods it can be invoked automatically when we are using the corresponding operator. Okay, when we are using one specific operator, the corresponding method it can be invoked automatically. Okay. So it is not only in the tuple case, it can be in other data types as well. In case of string, in case of tuple, in case of list, in case of set and dictionary, you can go and work with any data type. That's a process is common for that. Okay. So if you want to be manipulate the tuple, which is not at all possible. Any questions, guys?
Anjan, can
Sorry, go ahead.
you, sorry, can you give a practical example of when a tuple can be used?
Practical examples means, so it's just a data type, right? It's a data structure.
Yeah.
It's just a data. So the data it can be in a different formations. Tuple also it's a one type of formation. Okay.
Yeah, I was just thinking like I know like where the list can be used, but I always have this doubt of like if there is a
So for
list.
example, if you want to fix the data, I don't want to be modified. For example, you want to give some kind of security. Okay. So you are giving some kind of information. That information it cannot be mutable.
Oh yeah,
Do you got my point?
yeah, yeah.
For example, you have some data. If someone is trying to be modifying it, that means what? It doesn't have a security, right? Okay. So when you want to maintain the data with a security wise, then we can use the tuple will cannot give you access to modify. Okay, there is no permission to modify. That means it could be having some security, right? So that kind of information, so you want to create the data but no one cannot be modified. That kind of situation we can use the tuple data type. Okay.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
So now we have a list data type. So list data type. So I would like to try to modify this name. So maybe okay. Okay, that's about tuple. Now tuple and list approximately same, but not same. Let's see that example. So if you are not understand, please let me know. I can go a little slow. So these are the data types are, it can be common for everywhere. So which we are not modifying. It's a constant things I'm explaining it. Okay. So when coming to the list data type, so you already know that list data type formation, right? So how the list data type can form when we are holding some data in a square brackets. Okay, the data, it can be dissimilar data. That means we can hold the integers, we can hold a float, or we can hold any other data type. Okay, so that kind of data type variables or that kind of data type, okay, we are calling it say list data type. Okay, so the list data type, it can hold the nested list. That means the list it may contains another list that we're calling it say nested list. Okay, so meanwhile we can try to hold the tuple, we can try to hold the set, we can try to hold the list, and we can hold the string inside of the list, which is also possible. So in a square brackets, what are the 10 data types we have it from the Python, that all 10 data types we can store in a square brackets. We are not getting any kind of issue here. Okay, tuple and list as of now, which is similar. So tuple, it can be holding the data in a parenthesis. In list, we are holding the data in a square brackets. That's it. As of now, it's the same. Now if you want to try to access the elements from the accessing elements from the list, so how we are doing in a tuple, how we are doing in a string, it is same actually. Okay, so here I have some list of elements are there. So each and every element which is having some position, so a of 0 which is 34, a of 1 which is 90, a of 2 which is 12, and a of 3 which is 10, a of 4 which is 67, this is 5, and this is 7, this is 8, right? There is a total 9 elements are there. So that 9 are, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 elements. Total we have 8 elements are there. The last index number is 7. Okay, so this is the way we can access the elements with help of the positive. Meanwhile, we can access the elements from the list with the negative elements also. Okay, so this is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, and -8. So this is the way we can accessing from right to left as well as left to right with help of the positive and negative. Coming to the slicing and the tuple slicing and string slicing and list slicing could be same. Okay, so here if I'm giving the 2:6, which means from 2 to 5, what are the elements we have it, that elements we can access as the sublist. So this is my main list. From the main list we are accessing some group of elements and the resultant data type, which is the list data type. In case of tuple, the resultant data type is tuple only. In case of string, the resultant data type is string only. Same way, if you are using the list, then resultant data type is list only. Okay, so if you're not using the start index, it can be considered as the 0. So here the stop is 6, right? So which means 0 to 5, what are the elements we have it, it will accessing as the one sublist. And you're mentioning the start as 2, but you're not mentioning the stop. Okay, so that situation, it will access till end of your list. This is about the slicing of tuple, which is a similar of so the slicing of list, which is similar to the tuple slicing also. Okay, now let's discuss about the dicing. When we are working with the dicing, so list dicing and tuple dicing also equal. There is no difference, only the resultant data type is different. Okay, so here you mentioned the 1:8:3. So here 3 indicating that it's a step, 8 indicating that say stop, 1 indicating that say start element. So from 8 to 1 to 8, which means 8 in the sense 8 minus 1, 7 only. From 1 to 4, from 1 to 4, so we are accessing with every third element. So 1 plus 3, 4, 4 plus 3, 7, right? So now 1:8 something. So you're not mentioning anything as a step. By default, it's a 1. So 1 to 7, what are the elements we have it that it can accessing continuously? You are not mentioning the start as the 0. So default, it can be considered as the 0. 0 to 6, what are the elements we have it? With step 2, we are accessing because of you mentioned the step is 2. So stop if you're not mentioning, then end of your list, what are the elements we can have it that we can accessing from 1 to with step elements, because of your start is 1. So this is the way we can accessing the elements from the list with the different ways, like list slicing, list dicing, and list indexing. Any question? Hello.
No questions.
No, no questions.
Now the small difference we can the small difference we have in a list and tuple. Tuple we cannot be modified, but list can be modified. That's a small difference. That a small difference, it was making a lot of difference actually. Okay, you know, here we have the 3 elements. So in the first position it's a 1, second position it's a 2. I want to replace 2 by 20. That we can do simply with help of the indexing assignment. So you're assigning the 20 to in the index position of one of variable a. Okay, then automatically the 2 can be modified as the or modified as the 20. That's about a list mutable data type. Because of list is immutable, that you can able to mute the data, that you can able to change the data in the list. This thing which is not supported in the tuple. And for example, we can try to do this kind of operation, addition, some multiplication, less than, greater than, equal to, not equal to, and greater than or equal to. This all kind of operator we can apply in the list. When you're applying this kind of operators, by default the list which might having some kind of built-in special methods are there. So those methods will be invoke. Okay, so I just want to show you. I just want to show you what are the methods are there in the list. So dir of list, if you are entering, then it will give you a lot of methods. See, these are all special methods. It can be invoked automatically when we are doing the previous operators. When you are applying the operators on the list, these are the methods can be invoked. But you can see append, clear, copy, count, extend, index. These are the methods we are not at all seen in a tuple data type. Okay, but these methods we can see in a list because of list can be changeable. List elements we can change, that we can manipulate. For that one we have these methods. Let's discuss one method by another method. Append is the method. For example, we have some list which we have some elements are there. I want to add some new element. I want to add some new data to my existing list. That we can do with help of the append. But here we are adding only one element at a time. That is the use of the append. So, and that too it's going to adding at end of your list. So already we have 3 elements are there. If I'm doing the append of 10, then 10 will be adding to our existing list. But this same operation, if you try to do it in tuple, we will get an error because of append is not defined in tuple. For example, you are giving the list of 1 comma 2 comma 3. That means this list, it can be adding to our existing list as an element. So till here, previously we have only 3 elements. When you're adding the list of 1 comma 2 comma 3, then we have only 4 elements. It's not 6 elements, it's a 4 only, because of this is sublist. It can be adding or it can be appending as a sublist. For example, if you want to remove all elements in the list, with help of the clear method, we can remove all elements in one shot. You can copy the list elements and we can store in another variable. So with help of the copy method. Okay, and so every element it having its own position, right? So the position, so I want to know the position of 3. The position of 3, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2. For example, if element is not there, that means 10 is not there, even though you're trying to be finding the index, so it can be giving an error. So you mentioned the 3 is there, so that we are getting the corresponding index. But 10, you are finding the index for the 10, but 10 is not there, so that it was raising the value error. Okay, clear? So here we have a sort method is there. Sort will help you to make the data into one order, like it's a ascending order. Okay, so why I'm giving this one? I think on it makes you confused again. Okay, so so you can see the sort method. Sort method, it is arranging the data in ascending format. So we have a method is reverse. Reverse, what it will do, it doesn't matter whether it is in ascending or descending, but if whatever the data we have it, it can be altered. Like first element can be last element can be first element, and the order can be changed. So that's a reverse. So it's a reverse, totally reverse. Total entire list, it's a reversing. Okay. And extend means it's a quite, it's append of list we seen, right? When we are using the extend, then the elements we are accessing from B and we are adding to your A, we are extending the A with elements of the B. That's the meaning of it. Previously you are added, you appended. When we use it, the append method and input is the list, that entire list which comes as element of the list in case of append. But in case of extend, so if you're giving the input is the list, then the elements of the list, it can be adding to your A. Okay. For this one, we can see the small example. See here we have, so we are getting the result, right? So here 6 elements we are getting because of already same thing we do in append. We already did this one, but even though you can try it. See, these are the 3 elements. This B, it can be as an element of the A. It's not all elements of A. All elements of B we are not adding to your A actually. Okay, so the entire B which is as an element of A, that's the meaning of append. But extend, we are copying the elements from the B and adding to your A. So here you're adding the elements, here you're adding the list. That's it. Okay, so now I have a question now. If I'm using the tuple, then what happens? So here also we are getting the same thing. So extend, but B is the tuple. When we are using the B is the tuple, so the B elements we are accessing and we are adding to your A. And we can use the set also. We are using the set also. Even when we are using the set also, the set elements we are accessing and you are adding to your A. So that's a difference between the append and extend. Clear? Any question?
Yes.
Any question here? So you already know that count. Count will help you to know the how many times one particular element is repeated. So pop will be used to remove the element from the list. So here you are not mentioning the index position. By default, it will removing from the right to left, so that the list which we have the elements are 1, 2, 4. If I'm using the pop method, which is removing the last element is 4. Once if you remove the last element 4, we have only 2 elements. And again, if you are using the one more pop, then after from this 2, you're removing the last element. So once even if you're removing the 2, then we have only one element, that it is 1. Okay. So this is the way. If you're not giving the input for the pop, then it is try to act removing from the right to left or last to first. But we can mentioning the position also. In a pop, if you mentioning the position, if I'm giving the pop of 0, then the position of 0, whatever we have it, it can be removed. So that means we are removing the 1. Okay. So for example, once if you remove it, we have only 2, 4. So if we have the 2, 4, if I'm giving the pop of 1, pop of 1 in the sense this is 0, this is 1. So if I'm giving the pop of 1, then you're removing the 4 here. Okay. So this is the way the pop you can use it. If you're not giving the input for the pop as the index position, then it will try to removing from the right to left. If you're mentioning the position, then it can be removing the, okay. that particular positional element. Clear?
Yep.
Yep.
So we have a direct remove method is there. When we have a remove method, we can directly remove the element from the list. So if I'm giving the 2, then 2 is removing. If I'm giving the 1, 1 is removing. So if you want to remove element wise, then we can use the remove method. If you want to remove the elements with indexing wise, we can use the pop method. Okay.
So in that line where you have that remove 2, right? Like if say a is equal to 1 comma 2 comma 4 comma 2.
Sorry, can you repeat?
It's 1 comma 2 comma 4 comma 2. Like just add 2 at the end of it. And if you do a dot remove comma 2, does it remove both of them or does it follow an
Only
order?
first value, first element. We have the 2 elements are there. 2 is repeated 2 times. If you give the remove of 2, which is removing only one 2 only, it's not removing the 2 2s.
Okay. Is there a way that we can give an order to it, or like is it just fixed on one order?
So here, so the remove also we have a function. So just you can just go and see the help of remove. Okay. So here self and here value. Okay. So remove the first occurrence of value. It can remove only first occurrence value. Clear? Only whatever the element which is repeated first, first occur, that element only we can remove it. So if you want to remove it, all elements or all the 2, if you want to remove in one shot, then for that one we have to know how many times. You already know the loops, right? Okay, for example, 1 comma 2 comma 3 2 times we have it. Okay, so you don't know how many times the 2 is repeated, but that all times I want to remove it. Okay, then what we should do, we can find the a dot count of 2. Okay, now we can apply the for I in L, range of L. So you're removing the 2 times, you are repeating the for loop 2 times. For each time you are going to be removing the element of 2 only. Okay, so after you used this particular loop, so you are removed the all 2s from your existing list A. So this is the way only we can do it. Indirect way only we can do it. We don't have any kind of direct function. Okay, so if you want to see, I understood your question actually. For example, one particular element, if it is repeated more than 2 times or more than 1 time, I want to remove that particular element in all cases. That particular situation, we don't have any kind of function for that one. We should know how many times that particular element is repeated, and so that many times we need to repeat the loop. For each time you have to repeat, you have to remove that particular element. See, so am I explain anything about functions concept previously?
Yeah.
So same thing we can implement it in function. Okay, def list remove elements. Okay, so here we have to provide you the list or data. Okay, and so default it was none. Okay, and so what element you want to remove it, that element we have to provide as a, okay, so default can be considered as the none. Okay, so see, this is my function. See, I'm creating my own function because of that feature is not there in Python. So maybe one particular element was repeated multiple times, that all cases I want to remove that particular element from my data. Okay, so here, so I can find the count. So data dot count method, we can use it and make sure that it should be list. Okay, so if it is not list, maybe it can be error issue again, we will get some kind of error. Okay, and for example, so for I Oh, here we have to mention the element. So for I in range of, okay, so count. So you don't know how many times that particular element is repeated. So that's the reason I'm creating one variable, and the variable times the variable which is holding a number. So that time means which is generating a list of elements. So this is the for loop can be repeated that many number of times. For each time from the data, I want to remove the element. Okay. So finally, I want to return the data, whatever the data we have it, that particular data you want to remove it. Okay, this is my function. I created my own function here, and so from my main block I want to be call it. Okay, so here my list. So you can take the input from the user, or else you can take it any data. So for example, 2 is repeated 3 times. Okay, I want to remove the element. I want the list. I want to print the result here. Okay. So I just need to be call this particular function. So here you're calling this particular function, and you're sending the list, and you're sending the 2. Okay, then which is written the remove the all the 2, and it was written that particular data. Clear my point? So you created the one particular user defined function because of the functionality is not there in Python. So you should create your own function, and you're giving the data to this particular function as a list, and whatever the element you want to remove it, that particular element will be holding into this variable, and this is the logic will help you to remove the elements, the same elements. Okay, so this is the way only we can do. Akhilesh and Rajesh, I don't know who asked the question.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, any questions regarding about this one? So this is about today I just explained the tuple and list. I would like to upload these 2 files into our canvas, and we just go through download these particular files and try to be execute your own way. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, uploaded. So you just go and look, just download these files and try to be executed one way. Okay.
Okay,
That's what.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Tomorrow we'll try to finish it that the set and the dictionary. And next week onwards, we can start the modules and packages. That's very important classes actually. So with if you know the modules and packages, only we can do a lot of operations. Otherwise, we cannot do that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Bye. Take care.
Thank you.